Hello and welcome to Inside Tennessee Football's practice facility. I'm Ryan Sylvia, joined by Noah Taylor. We're with VolReport.com, the Rivals Network. And Tennessee is doing kind of their simulated game week now, heading into actual game week against Chattanooga, which means we're under 2 weeks away from football time in Tennessee over at Neyland Stadium. First things first, some availability injury statuses. Nico Iamaleava has missed a little bit of time due to a stomach bug, but Heupel said he's back. He's been out on the field and everything's good to go with Nico. So good news for Vol fans that QB1 is good to go. But then a piece of interesting news. He said Cameron Seldon is fully cleared, contact, good to go. You would assume the red jersey would be off then, and this feels a little bit of ahead of schedule for him as well, when it seemed like maybe he'd have to kind of limp into the beginning of the season, maybe miss a little bit of time while he recovered from surgery. Josh Heupel says he's good to go and that he's cleared, which is a bit of a surprise, but really good news for Tennessee in that running back room. That looked a little bit thin at times without Cam Seldon. Also mentioned freshman Peyton Lewis as another guy who different timetable due to surgery. We saw Peyton Lewis participate in a lot of fall camp and he played in that last scrimmage, but he said he's good to go too. So let's start in that running back room though. What are your thoughts on that news about Cam Seldon?
Yeah, it's massive because I think going into it, here less than 2 weeks before the season opener, what was that room going to look like? We've seen Dylan Sampson, who's obviously the clear-cut leader there, also kind of be off to the side a little bit sometimes in fall camp. So what's Deshaun Bishop's role going to be? We've talked a lot about him. Khalifa Keith. Now you go into it, like you said, ahead of schedule. We weren't sure if we'd see Cam Seldon week one. I was thinking we probably wouldn't, and then it'd be a little bit down the road to kind of get his sea legs back, so to speak. But now I think going full contact here 2 weeks before the season starts, you're shifted into game mode. Now I think you probably want to be safe with him in that game, but a really good opportunity for him to get reps because obviously that number 2 guy got on the field a little bit last year. Played a lot in Iowa, the Citrus Bowl game. Now you got a chance to get him some valuable reps as well if he's ready to go and play a little bit more. But obviously massive news right now at a position that has a lot of talent, I think a lot of potential and a high ceiling, but was a little bit banged up coming into fall camp.
Yeah, I am curious though how much he will play in that Chattanooga game, if at all. Maybe that is something different because it is different to be in the facility and go through contact here and outside and things like that, compared to in an actual game format against a real opponent, someone that's not your teammate. And even though it's Chattanooga and it's not like an SEC game, it's still different. And I think the injury risk kind of goes up a little bit in those scenarios. So do they want to risk it in a game that you definitely shouldn't need him against Chattanooga? Like Chattanooga's not a bad FCS team, but that's a game you should be able to win without your backup running back. So I'm interested to see if he plays, if he does play, how much he plays. I think Deshaun Bishop's still going to get his run and his fair share of touches, especially in that Chattanooga game. But then that opens the door for what is it going to look like for week 2 in Charlotte against NC State? Because NC State is a good football team and a game that Tennessee's going to need to go out and play a really clean and good game to win. So is that when maybe you see a little bit of Cam Seldon, or is that still a situation where, well, he didn't play much against Chattanooga, do we want him to go full go against NC State? It'll be interesting to see is really what I'm getting at, how they handle this. Even though Heupel says he's good to go, he's fully cleared, how does he piece into the puzzle? I think will be something to keep an eye on as this season unfolds. But overall, really good news on both fronts. Nico, I don't think anyone was too worried. It was just a stomach bug situation. But then also now at the running back position, you feel a little bit better, I think, because of some of the depth that you have returning to the table. What did you think about what Heupel had to say?
Yeah, he was asked about the red zone. That's kind of been a big emphasis. Obviously, the offense took a step back last year, but that was kind of one of the areas that was where they struggled. It was kind of scoring when they got down there on that part of the field. And Josh Heupel said it was an emphasis not only for the offense but the defense too, to make stops down there. Said one thing I thought was interesting, a couple schematic changes that they've made to be better down there. But just talked about how that's going to be an emphasis for this team. And like we said, that was an area, you go from that record-breaking season where really I can't even think about the amount of red zone trips they really had because they were scoring so quickly from all over the field. So, last year they did have a lot of opportunities in the red zone and didn't pay them off all the time. And it was costly. You think about that Alabama game being one that Tennessee felt really good about probably going into halftime, but missed on some opportunities. But obviously this year, some different weapons down there. Talked about being elite running the ball. It goes back to the running back thing, who's going to be there week 1. But I thought that was interesting.
Internally, I think Tennessee probably has an idea on what that depth chart is starting to look like. but Josh Heupel wasn't willing to share any inclination of what things may be playing out. And I do think that some of those position battles are still unfolding as we're 2 weeks away from kickoff. But he did say, no depth chart right now when asked about left guard. But I want to talk about the secondary a little bit, where there are some of those position battles. You talk about safety opposite of Andre Turrentine and the star position with Jordan Thomas going down. He was asked about Christian Harrison stepping into a star position. I thought it was interesting where Boot Carter's name isn't mentioned, but he throws him in there as well, and kind of made sure both guys kind of got that equal spot in the light a little bit, just in terms of talking about guys who could start at that star position, which kind of tells you that both guys are going to play against Chattanooga. We'll see which one gets the start, but I don't think it'll really technically matter for that Chattanooga game. Maybe more so once again in that week 2 test that Tennessee has scheduled itself under Josh Heupel every season with Pittsburgh in the past. I guess last year they didn't have it with the opener against Virginia, but this year now with NC State, that week 2 test. We'll see maybe who steps up a little bit. I think that Chattanooga game will be a little bit telling, especially for maybe what you have as a true freshman in Boot Carter, who hasn't had to play in Neyland in front of fans and in a real game environment at the college level yet. But he seemed confident in the secondary, I think, is also something to note. Whether you're talking about that star position, whether you're talking about safety, he talked about how there is a comfort despite kind of the youth that they have on the back end of the defense. But those are kind of the key points from what Heupel had to say today. Touched on a variety of things. If you want to see the full press conference, we have it at the VolReport YouTube channel, so make sure you go and check that out to hear everything that he had to say. That'll do it all from us here, though. Today inside Tennessee football's practice facility, we'll have full coverage on Tennessee football's fall camp as that kind of concludes. I think they stopped calling it fall camp this week as they really get into kind of season mode here at Tennessee. But if you want to be covered leading into the actual season, we have you covered at VolReport.com and here on the YouTube channel. Recruiting seating up to David Sanders Jr., obviously a 5-star offensive tackle, commits last weekend. Fizan Brandon, too, quarterback commit in the 26 class. He just got a bump up to a 5-star rating, so we'll have coverage on that as well. Over at VolReport.com, links to everything you need is in the description. Thank you for watching.